need to mute this over here. Okay, that started muted. Fantastic. All right, we are good to go.
Uh, cool. So hold on. I guess there's nothing on the agenda um,
Right.
for us. So it's just basically on if anybody has any topics um, to raise.
Um, I guess we could sort of solidify what we're going to do with Orchestrion, maybe, or how we're going to do this with Brian out. That is the
Uh,
Oh,
right.
one thing,
Yeah.
one thing I was going to mention last meeting, I can't believe was that a month ago? In the last meeting, we talked about merging a PR, which was for fixing invalid export names. And I didn't get it merged because it fails the tests. But then Abby might have found a way to actually get those exports working. So we'll see. I've converted that PR to a draft so it doesn't get merged.
nice. Yeah. I'll also actually convert my PR to a draft as well. Um, as we can chat about it more. Okay. Which one? I guess we can start off with the Orchestrion stuff. Um,
Um, basically just like what was y'all's um understanding after the meeting?
so as far as I understand, we try to merge in the kind of initial WASM support into Orchestrion. Then we can either publish it or we can just like reference it via like Git SHA to like use
Okay.
it. And then we can build like build something build another package in an external repo that will make the loaders work. There's like
Yeah.
I guess like two work streams. One is uh, one group of people need to work on the loader, try experimenting with that. That's essentially like a one-to-one import in the middle replacement, hopefully.
Yeah, but I don't think we can do that until stu Tim's stuff is merged in. So Tim, like,
I I thought if I think the problem is even if Brian merges my PR, which adds the npm module output, it still needs publishing. So I think what I'll probably do is
in
create
publishing on
a,
NPM.
yeah, for it to be of any use. So I mean we can't publish to Sentry without putting it in a repository and we can't manually publish from our machines
I
to
would think that we
Sentry.
should just create a
An org and
temporary or
publish it.
yeah.
Yeah, that'll probably do. Someone can publish it from their
Yeah.
Uh,
machine.
yeah, that works. I mean, we can just set it up in CI and someone provides their token. Uh, who wants to do this? And
Um,
Oh,
you're gonna say something.
oh, I don't mind doing it.
Okay.
I don't mind using my token. We can pick an org. I think the thing is with CI is we'll need to fork it to add the CI build stuff, but that's the only, if we publish it
Uh,
from my machine, I can just do it now.
yeah, I'm not
So,
worried about CI. I think we can get by without that for a while. Like once we
and
move, once Brian comes back and sorts out the legality stuff of shifting the repository over to some other organization, then we can worry about CI type things, in my opinion.
uh, to make it more explicit, I could just publish it under my name as a namespace, seeing as I'm publishing it, and then I'll just choose some random string of characters to go after, because then we don't have to worry too much about
Yeah,
people
that
using
sounds
it. And not understanding what it does.
Sounds
Yeah.
fantastic.
I mean, we can call it something like meaningful. I guess we can just avoid using orchestrion or something. Make your funniest, I don't know, like a British joke.
Did we say rhinoceros was one letter short of an anagram of orchestron?
Ah, yes. I enjoyed that very much.
So maybe something like that. But yeah, rhinoceros JS. There's probably a library already called that. But I'll get it
Okay.
published and then we can start messing around with it in a loader. When it comes to a using it in bundlers, the easiest thing to do is to create an SWC plugin. And there's some tooling or some examples of ways to do that. I think it's just that just builds a different type of WASM library. And then the SWC, there's an SWC plugin for almost every bundler, and you just pass it as a plugin to the SWC bundler plugin and it'll work.
Okay,
So that
nice.
can probably that can I think we'll just do that in another repository.
Yeah, I think for Sentry, like that's like a priority for us to experiment with some of kind of
Yeah.
the frameworks we want to support. Um, but for the loader stuff, I guess like the New Relic folks can just own that completely if that's cool.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think Bob is really interested in building that module, so um, that would be nice. But we just need to get it to or get the actual stuff ready for it.
Okay, yeah, that feels reasonable. So yeah, Tim, fork to a temporary org and publish under your name. Tim, you're
I, d
muted.
I don't think I'll fork it. I think I'll just publish from that repository. I'll just have to edit the npm
Okay, I mean, I
to have
figured
my
we have to if we're going to have to make the changes to add like the SWC stuff, it might make sense.
yeah. Okay.
Um, because again, we can always just upstream this back, right?
Yeah,
Like
Yeah.
that's the
slowly.
intention is to always move it back to
Yep.
the right place.
Okay. So if we fork it to Sentry org, would that be easier? Or I'll just or another org?
Let's just create a new GitHub org.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I
The
anticipate legal stuff happening with using Sentry or New Relic or whoever.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
there's that, but I think the biggest problem with Sentry is that we have to then go through all like the security review and all those
Oh
things.
no.
Yeah,
So
all of
Yeah,
that
okay.
nonsense.
yeah,
Okay. Nice. Okay, I'll do that and then get it published because it should work. It does the tests run, so it should work as it is.
nice. Um, cool. Yeah, and then yeah, just add us to the org, and we can start working on stuff.
Perfect. And then we can open the other supporting any other repositories we need. We can just add to that org, just keep it all
Yeah,
together.
yeah.
Okay.
And who knows, maybe the org just gets renamed into what it actually becomes instead of going to Node.js or CNCF or wherever.
Yeah.
Um, cool. Okay, I think we have some pretty good next steps for that. Um, let's go to the identifier stuff. I can share my screen so to give everybody some more context. Um, so yeah, thanks for approving this PR, James, but we put it back into draft because we realized that we can maybe make this more or like less specific to account for all different kinds of i- like interesting export names. So right now we special cased everything for this module.exports because that was the case we found when our integration test for Yargs broke with their new release.
Nice.
Can you explain that module to export? Why is it named like that? And does it do some kind of funky?
So Yargs just had a big release where they converted to ESM only, but they made some change here where I think this, I'm not exactly sure of like how exactly this like works under the hood or like makes what the mechanics of this are. But by exporting as module exports, that essentially their default export, it allows for CJS to just do the unqualified default export.
Terrifying.
Okay.
And I assume
ESM,
they
fun
they
times.
they did this for like to make the transition process easier. Um, but yeah, I mean maybe we can look at the blame for.
No, we don't need to
And
do that.
they're not the only one doing it either, are they? So it's definitely
No, it's definitely
a hacker.
another pattern. I mean, like the our integration test broke because Yargs did a release with all of its subdependencies as well, and all their subdependencies have this pattern. So it's also like CL, yep, CLUI, which also has this pattern here.
Hmm.
So I
Yeah.
think, I mean, this is technically like a valid export name, anything with dots. And right now, before that would break because we just directly put in like the, or like directly injected this as a variable name that then we do an assign. The setter also breaks because we use the dot syntax to access to set on the object.
Hmm.
And I think what we can do is um, not do this check, but just do this generally for any variable that's injected in. Construct like a variable name that works for everything, probably via like some replace or regex that converts the variable name to a or converts the export name to a valid variable name that can be used.
I had such a thing in there for something, didn't I?
I'm not sure if there is something in here if you can link or
I think it was
you
for
have.
file names. Yeah. Uh, oh, but it probably won't actually directly work for those.
I was saying to Abby, we don't need, we just need, we for the intermediate variable it uses, we could use a counter realistically. It's nice to use something close to the variable name in case we hit an error in a syntax error. It'll give us a better idea of where it's happened. But for the intermediate variable that's used in the code, in this generated code, it doesn't matter too much. So I think we can almost just get rid of all non A to Z 0 to 9 and convert them to underscores and then just use that as the variable name.
Yeah, I mean,
I
that sounds
think
good. Like, in my opinion, whatever you guys come up with for getting your issues solved, put a check on it and merge it.
I think
Okay.
the thing here is that can you go to the thing where you export it, Abby? Is it like export? Um, oh, it's not in this code. It's export as.
This
Oh,
statement
there we
here.
go. Yeah,
Yeah,
and you
so
can.
right now we like JSON.stringify this so that it's basically identical. And this is actually unnecessary. You can probably just wrap this in, like make this a string and export it. And we can't like even though this is a variable name, we have to like re-export it as n or equivalent to n. Otherwise, we break the package because it has to be the same name. Um, so okay, I think like I can just make another PR and make the change and add one or two more tests. Um, and then we can go from there.
Yeah, I think it's Node 16 plus that allows you to export string export with string identifiers, if that's how you I think these tests fail below that,
Yep, I
so they
had to
might.
pin it. Yeah, I mean, it probably doesn't matter too much, but I will also try to look that up and try to figure out how that was added and why. Because I assume it was added because it was part of the spec and it's allowed, but
Yeah, and it lets them. CGS allows it, so maybe they added it to the. But they might, depending on what syntax you use to export as, if you end up putting it in quotes, that if you end up putting that in quotes, that might not be valid on older versions of Node. So we might have to have conditional code generation depending on the version of Node. But I don't think it should be too horrific.
but like then the original package shouldn't support it at all, right? So
Well,
because
here's the
that would just break in the original. Like if you're running Node 14, like it wouldn't even the original package wouldn't even support Node 14, right?
It's been supported in CJS for
Oh,
forever.
good
So
point.
it's yeah. So when you the test you added in here is good, but grab the other one from IPR which tests it with a CGS export. So we've got both tested.
at the very end of the description section uh, on the export keyword is a single sentence. You can use a string identifier for a not valid identifier. You can use a string literal. How that's supposed to work, I have to dig into the spec probably, but it's like
Okay. Which may not be a valid identifier. Yes. Cool.
ridiculous.
Very, very cool. Good stuff.
Mhm.
Learn new things all the time. Um, okay. Yeah, I can like put in that work to help. I'll do I'll try to write something up so at least it's there, documented for everybody, and then we can remember this as our JavaScript fun fact for the rest of our lives.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Sweet. Anything else that we want to cover or talk about?
No.
No, it looks like Abby, you're probably doing these notes. Are you gonna put a PR up or do you want me to
Yeah,
do
I can
that
put a
or
PR up
okay.
to do the notes.
All right. Fantastic.